I know. It's not very good, is it?
Well?
Alpha and Omega 2. Bring it on.
Hi, I'm here to show you the new Alpha and Omega 2 that came out on October 8th. Right here is my collection of Alpha and Omegas. Try to show you the new one that's out. Oh, wrong one. I don't know why I make that mistake. As you see all the three pups we've been hoping for. Stinky, Claudette, Runt, Kate Humphrey in the background. The back you can see what it's about. Kate and Humphrey, and their three cubs, Stinky, Claudette, and Runt, are happily preparing to celebrate their first winter together when their smallest cub, Runt, mysteriously disappears. They must now go on a new journey across the wilderness to find and bring back Runt before the winter snow blocks their way home. It's the greatest adventure yet, filled with action and suspense, as well as plenty of humor and heartwarming moments that were delivered in the first theoretical release. While their adventure does not end exactly as planned, Kate and Humphrey discover that home is where their family is. Well, y'all already seen it, so I'm not going to give it away for any of those who haven't got it yet. But all I'm going to say is it's a cute movie. Yeah. Animation may not be that good, and I know the running time was deeply criticized, but overall it was very good. And it took me about half an hour to try to open the case because the thing's hard to open. As you see, it's this very good looking disc right here. You know, title and everything. I'm glad about that. Also glad I got the Blu-ray. You know, almost the same. First we got this good looking disc right here, Blu-ray version, and this one right here. Of course, hiding behind this. But yeah, it's a great movie and you should really watch it. Really cute. Peace out.
Yes, the first sequel, Alpha and Omega 2, a Howl-iday adventure. And if you think the pun in the title sounded forced, you're in for a ride. Now, I want to give a little bit of background. So, a long time ago, Crest Animation and Lionsgate had a 3-movie deal. They planned to make 3 movies together. The first of these went on to become Alpha and Omega. The second one was most likely planning to be a theatrical sequel to Alpha and Omega. As a 12-year-old kid, I was excited, but then it was announced that a theatrical Alpha and Omega sequel was scrapped. The second movie of the deal was going to be Norm of the North, because that's a movie that's demanding to be made. The funny thing is, this whole 3-movie deal was scrapped since Crest Animation Studios was losing money, and they would eventually close down in 2015. You know, the original Alpha and Omega actually had a lot of potential. I should know, I've written God knows how many books based off that film. But I feel if Crest would have invested in writing better stories, they wouldn't have gone to the gutter that they eventually found themselves in. Despite the 3-movie deal ending, they made Alpha and Omega 2. Once I figured it out that it was direct-to-DVD, my expectations were no longer high, so I ended up liking it. For me, I was just happy to see my favorite characters again, and that's why I wasn't very disappointed. People love to crap on the sequels, but I think it's too easy of a target. I mean, was it smart to expect a lot? This is the same company that made a lot of the Swan Princess sequels. It could have been way worse. Obviously, there are a few sequels that deserve hate. Dino Diggs! But I think Alpha and Omega 2 is one of the better ones. So let's take a look at Alpha and Omega 2, a Howl-iday adventure. So we start off with our 3 new characters, Humphrey and Kate's pups, Stinky, Claudette, and Runt. Yes, those are their names. Claudette sounds about right, but Runt and Stinky? Really? What was the pitch meeting for that? And get used to these copy and pasted character designs. You're gonna see a lot of them. So it starts off with Runt climbing a tree.
Runt, it is unsightly for a wolf to be climbing a tree.
You know, with all the times that physics is broken in this series, is that question even worth asking? So Runt spots a few wolves that are not from their pack, and since pacing is an urban myth, the pups are approached by a bear looking for some trouble. The foreigners help fend off the bear, but Claudette discovers that Runt is missing. Meanwhile, Kate and Humphrey are preparing for a gathering. Garth and Lily show up. And Winston and Tony arrive along with...
Yoo-hoo! We're here!
You know, most of the new voice actors are pretty good, but that sounds nothing like Eve. Like, not even close. In fact, her whole character is backwards.
Now, if Garth gets out of line, take those beautiful teeth of yours, go for the throat, and don't let go until the body stops shaking.
Look at that view outside.
If any of you wolves have hurt my daughter, I will personally rip out your eyes.
You know the younger generation. Organic this, natural that. No, Mom! As usual, they're talking about war.
I mean, it's not like I was the most aggressive character in the first movie.
The rogue leader wanted to be king and couldn't.
Berries anyone? Fab!
Is Garth coming? I need him to see life in a cave. He and Lily have been living in the tall grass. Garth, it's time you found a cave. I told you I'd give up mine.
Lily and I like living in the grass. The very tall grass.
Anyway, Claudette and Stinky come to tell the adults that Runt is missing. See, Runt has been taken by those strange wolves we saw earlier, specifically by alphas of the King Pack, also known as the Rogues. What is the King Pack? Well, they are zealots that used to be with Winston and Tony. They're led by a wolf who calls himself King. He's basically like Wolf Hitler. Of course, a backstory on King would be a much better story, but, you know, we can't actually take chances, you know? I mean, we can't be a little dark. As we all know, cheapness leads to higher quality. Come on, Crest, imagine how much money you could make if you made this story interesting. There's so many missed opportunities here.
I know what the rogues are planning.
What is it, my smart Omega?
They want us to send most of our alphas to find Runt and get trapped by the winter. Then, they'll have another pack hiding in the fields, attack, and destroy our home.
Well, duh. Leave the military planning to the alphas, honey. Last time I checked, you still have a turtle fetish. Because they're idiots, Humphrey and Kate decide to split off from the group and find Runt themselves. Why would they do that? Well, maybe because they want to remind us of the good times that happened in the first movie. For example, they do the thing with the vine again. Now you get to watch the same thing minus the freshness. Genius. Patty and Marcel just happened to meet them out of nowhere, and as you would expect, their comedy is suffered a major downgrade, to say the least.
How did you find us? Let's just say someone's bad shot flew up and over the cliff.
Never mind the wrong club. I have seen these rogue wolves mean things. They never share their kill with the birds.
Yes, they are what you would call
Drama wolves? Bombs away!
Well, it was that or a windshield.
What did it say on the back of the DVD? Let's look. Filled with action and suspense, as well as plenty of humor. Oh! For a second I thought it was ear-bleeding annoyance. Later, Claudette and Stinky sneak out to find Runt, and they come across their parents. Like idiots, they try to cross the ravine, but luckily the birds are there to help. For whatever reason, they aren't punished, so Kate and Humphrey and the pups go to find Runt. Then they come across...
Hi, guys.
Oh gosh.
Hey, can I come with you?
Talk to the paw. Go home. What is this? A parade?
So you're just gonna leave that cub alone? In the forest?
Who are you?
Do you know what will happen to that cute and adorable little cub? You know the rules of the forest.
I know the rules of survival.
Yeah, and the rules of survival are the same as the rules of the forest. I mean, even if the cub managed to lose her mom, or his mom, I'm not sure if it's a boy or girl, it's not made very clear. If the cub lost her mom, sucks to be her, but this is the wilderness. I mean, Humphrey has no obligation to... He takes the cub along with him, doesn't he?
What if this were Runt?
You're dead to me, movie, you're dead to me. Gee, I wonder if that contrived element is going to be important to the plot later on. The bear cub's literal purpose is to be a plot device. Humphrey and Kate then leave the pups, the birds, and the cub behind to meet up with the rest of the group where they find where Runt is being kept. So the fact that Humphrey and Kate split up from the main group and their pup snuck out last night is entirely pointless. Half this runtime exists purely to recreate scenes from the first movie and talk about how gosh darn similar the pups are to their parents.
And remember, Dad is a proud Omega, as am I.
I think it's so charming when the little ones' personalities match their parents.
They so take after you.
Me? Humphrey, that is all you.
I cannot believe those pups snuck out last night.
They're sly little guys. Take after their parents.
The group then comes up with a plan where Humphrey and Garth pretend to be a giant alpha wolf so they can distract King while Kate sneaks from behind.
It must be a special class of alpha. We must go greet him. Recruit him.
Hey, Garth, they're approaching.
Stake your territory. It'll keep them from coming too close. They won't stop until you have a big howl. It's a power thing. Ow!
Wait a minute, you're telling me Humphrey can't howl? I mean, with all the callbacks to the first movie, I would have assumed that you've seen it. I mean, you're gonna retcon the best scene in the franchise? Whatever, let's wrap this up. So they distract King and Kate manages to get Runt. The group runs back to Jasper and King begins the assault on their territory. They have their boring action scene, the plot device fulfills her one duty, and the bears scare all of the rogues away. You would think it would end there, but no, we have to do one last callback to the first film. Humphrey and Kate and their pups retreat all the way back to the gas station where we meet Max again, who seems to be going through something.
Oh gosh, everyone behind the dumpster.
Okay, I want a whole movie dedicated to Max's family. I mean, someone clearly put more effort into that painting. Anyway, I guess Max was a nice character all along because he leaves the door open before driving away. The wolves enter the building only to find kibble left out for them. Yeah, he's letting wild animals into his office. I wonder how happy he's going to be when he finds dog shit all over the floor. Later, we get our lesson of the film that's supposed to tie all of this nonsense together. Just think of the most cliched lesson that you could possibly think of for a movie centered around the holidays.
Humphrey, here we are, trying to get home again.
Just get to the fucking point.
I think we already are.
Hey Richard Rich, do you think this lesson is lazy or do you have another word to describe it?
Efficient. That is what we thought. We?
So, did you think that was an engaging story? Because I certainly didn't think so. Yeah, this sequel didn't hold up that well. As a follow-up to the first movie, there are some story elements that could work, like the idea behind the rogues and this princess character, but for the most part, it's pretty dumb, and it doesn't really go anywhere. All of the setups are just cashing in on the first movie. With the exception of a few, the new voices are pretty good, but the characters are not as strong. The comedy is very weak, but there are 2 or 3 jokes that work. I especially like this one joke where Eve is eating fermented berries, which is the wolf equivalent of beer, and Winston gets all anxious.
Gosh, these are good.
Hey, easy with those, honey.
I just wonder what time did Eve not take it easy. I mean, that story is much more interesting than this story. The orchestral music is literally just a repeat of the first movie, and that gets very distracting very quickly. The animation here is a huge downgrade. I mean, there are a few times where the lighting is off, the background changes suddenly. You see Tony here walking on a treadmill.
Yummy!
Why aren't you eating the rest?
That can also get very distracting. Overall, Alpha and Omega 2 is pretty mediocre and a bad follow-up to the original. I still can't believe they never brought back Garth after this. I'm sure that pissed off a lot of fans. Even though it has the biggest story out of all of the sequels, it gets less and less impressive the more I watch it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get ready for some sports.